Let's start with Texas A&M, as I can't help but, it's funny. These two teams, Texas A&M and LSU, started playing again in 2012 when Texas A&M joined the SEC. I want to say, let me see. When did this replace Arkansas as, I don't have dates on these games. So a few years ago, the decision was made, though, that this should be LSU's kind of season-ending rival on Rivalry Week, right? Something that was always traditional. Arkansas, the battle for the boot. At some point, it was deemed by the higher-ups that a switch should be made. And it makes sense. Like, it makes a lot of sense, right? A&M at the time looked like they were going to be kind of more competitive and more relevant than Arkansas. Texas A&M, I believe, is relatively close to the Houston area. I know there's a ton of A&M fans in the Houston area. Of course, Houston, also the largest LSU alumni base in the entire country. You compete over a lot of the same recruits, a lot of the same facilities, coaches, yada, yada, yada. Still, when you initially made that change, it did feel a bit corporate and a bit manufactured, right? Basically, like some suits said, well, we think there's more money in this rivalry and more ratings, so this is what we're going to make happen. And a lot of times, those kind of inorganic collaborations, they can go awry. They can feel inauthentic. The wildest part to me about this game is nothing could be further from the truth. When you look at the immediate steam that this rivalry has gained over the past few years. And, it started on a great stage. You talk about Johnny Manziel coming to Tiger Stadium, getting dominated, and really LSU just kind of whooping up on Texas A&M for years. But even in those games, there was drama, right? There was the John Chavis drama and lawsuits. And then, of course, Jimbo Fisher arrives, a coach that LSU thought they had previous to that. Only it was beating A&M that I believe Coach Miles got carried off the field for, which saved his job from Jimbo Fisher, which later in the chaos theory led to Jimbo Fisher going to Texas A&M. What was viewed as a coup at the time is now being laughed at. But during the Jimbo era, you're 2-2. And the rivalry's gained a lot of steam. I mean, who can forget the 7 overtime game? The wildest game of college football I've ever watched in my entire life. I'll never forget, it was a full moon that night. And I remember literally around the 4th or 5th overtime going outside onto the deck and just howling at the moon like some sort of rabid beast because I was so infused with the arcane energies of college football overtime madness. And sadly, again, LSU has a way of affecting college football at its core, at its very fabric, right? You broke the BCS by being a 2-loss natty champion in 07, only to ever do that. And then in 2011, being a part of a rematch, ended up leading the playoff. You have the chance to break this 4-team playoff wide open if you can win this SEC championship. It was at that 7 overtime game, which they literally changed the college football overtime rules, said it could not happen again, which is a bit disappointing in my opinion. But who could forget that game and what it meant for the two schools? Remember, LSU was going for 10 regular season wins. Something that, what would we say, in the 100-plus year history? We looked it up the other day. Was it 9 times? Maybe 10? It was somewhere around there. So you're talking about something that's happened not even 1 out of 10 times. Not even 1 out of 10 seasons here in school history. And you were going for that, and they stopped you. And they celebrated 74, 72, and they made cups. And you all know what happened after that. So you come back, of course, 2019, you get revenge. But then in 2020, Jimbo punches back 20-7. The 9-1 A&M team, the team on the verge of the college football playoff, looking like they were ready to arrive. They'd announced themselves as a national power, and it was at that moment that the two roads, began to diverge. 2021, A&M beats Alabama, but everything else is really disappointing on the year as a whole. LSU, of course, falls under 500, and now they get their own coup of a hire. Again, ironically, I'm talking about adding juice to the rivalry. The same man who pulled the original coup to get Jimbo out of Florida State and to Texas A&M, Scott Woodward, leaves A&M to return home to become the LSU AD, and then pulls the coup of hiring Brian Kelly away from Notre Dame to come to LSU. I mean, it is wild, again, that this manufactured, very corporate seeming rivalry has already gained this much juice. And I got to say, I mean, ultimately with a rivalry, we can get into all sorts of like technical things about, overall balance matters in terms of wins and losses and who's won the most. Geographical proximity matters, all of these sorts of things. But ultimately, you can feel a rivalry in your loins, right? Like when you think about that school, do you have an emotional reaction? Do you find yourself getting a little angry? How bad do you want it? And I know that many of you probably feel like me. When you look at the list of teams that you would rather beat than A&M, I mean, to me, I don't know that there's anybody that I would rather beat than Texas A&M. And I don't just mean this year. I mean on any given year. Yeah, Alabama certainly. Florida's kind of up there. But I hate these guys. They're so smug. It's all so unearned. Remember, the Texas A&M school president gave Jimbo Fisher an undated national championship trophy when they originally signed him to this deal. This is a crew that has more money than God and thinks they are better than they are. They are the college personification of the type of person that we all tend to hate the most. Okay? And so, yes, I would love nothing more. Think about what's on the line. Remember, back in 7 overtime game, they stop you from getting to 10 wins. Again this year, you are going for that 10-win regular season. You can also drive A&M to 1-7 in the SEC, 4-8 overall, dead last in the SEC. Vanderbilt has 2 SEC wins. Vanderbilt will be playing for the opportunity to go to a bowl game this weekend. Texas A&M can't even do that. So, yeah. This is a rivalry that works, and there's all kinds of wonderful little details. I mean, think about this. Scott Rabley has a great article that has some fun facts that maybe some fun observations that have gone under the radar. You should check it out on The Advocate today. A&M, where'd they start the season ranked? 6th in the country. Where does LSU enter this game ranked? 6th in the country. Who would have guessed? LSU started at the bottom. The two teams did on a complete flip. Where is Harold Perkins originally committed to? Texas A&M. Brian Kelly told everybody to be patient. He did. He flips him. Harold Perkins ends up signing in February. I forgot that. Not an early signing day guy. You had to really work, and Kelly and that new staff especially had to really work to pry Jimbo's dragon gold hoarding-like fingers off of Harold Perkins and lead him down here to Baton Rouge, where he has quite literally directly created 2 wins. Maybe 3. I mean, definitely 2. It's been an excellent year. But as we said yesterday, and as you saw last weekend, you're never that far away from ruining everything, okay? Look at Tennessee. What a year they've had. And objectively, Tennessee fans should be happy, right? But we don't really care about the objective results. All we care about is where do those results land in relation to expectations. And so when Tennessee fans have minus 500 playoff odds and they are just assuming that they are a playoff team, this season ends up feeling like a bitter disappointment. Now, certainly they can try to step back and try to make themselves realize, no, it's 10 wins. It's 6-2 in the SEC. It's all these things we haven't done in 14 years. But the bottom line is they ended up falling woefully short of where it looked like they were assuredly. Well, LSU's in a bit of the same bind here, where, yes, you will still go to Atlanta no matter what, but if you lose to Texas A&M here, it would be bitterly disappointing. It would drop you to 9-3. It would ruin any playoff hopes that you have for that Atlanta game. And worst of all, it would make Texas A&M fans happy. And that's where you get back to that feeling in your loins. You don't want A&M fans happy. If you live in Houston, you don't want to have to be seeing your neighbors lord it over you. Hell, what did LSU do last year to A&M, and how good did it feel, right? On a year when they were trying to go 9-3, going to the bowl game, you're 4-5. You beat them, or I guess I'm thinking more of 2020, but still, you beat them in 2021, drop them to 8-4, and you kind of make your season in a lot of ways. Like, it felt so good to do that. And do not allow Texas A&M that same salve as they prepare to enter the long dark of the offseason. They don't get to go to a bowl game. They don't get 15 bowl practices. What they get is the end of the year, the opening of a transfer portal that will decimate their star-studded freshman class if you don't allow them any hope, because that's the thing. You have the chance here to completely break them on a mental and physical level, on a morale level. Break that program. Do not allow them any happiness. And when they have shown life this year, it's been at home. They were down at the 2-yard line with a play to win the game against Alabama, the exact same situation that LSU was in. They only lost to 3 to Ole Miss at home. They beat Miami at home, which, look, I'm kind of grasping at straws here to be fair. And they beat UMass 20-3 at home, okay? So be a little wary and just take care of business. Now, thankfully, I think this is an LSU team that is very well equipped to do that. And I think they will smash Texas A&M. But ultimately, as we learn every single week in college football, you have to play the game because we never quite know what rates around the other 60 minutes, right? What's around the corner when you get through those 60 minutes? What fate lies on the other side? As we go to break here, I will leave you with this. Another great Rabelais nugget from the article. Texas A&M would have to pay Jimbo Fisher $86 million if they wanted to fire him right now. For perspective, Texas or Oklahoma would have to pay the Big 12 $80 million if they wanted to leave for the SEC. So an entire university leaving the conference that it's been in for years and years to join another conference. A massive move would cost $6 million less than what it costs Jimbo Fisher to get out of there. And by the way, Jimbo Fisher, 38-21 in his time at Texas A&M, 22-18 in the SEC. Kevin Sumlin, in that same time, 42-17 overall and 21-16 in conference. Bad, bad, bad. Don't make it better. Make it worse. Break them this weekend in College Station and get revenge once again. Make them miserable heading into this offseason.